Hello again, E. King here, and in this video we're going to cover three reasons why most ideas fail. There's three basic reasons why they fail. Reason number one, most people fail at their ideas or fail to get it off the ground because they just never really have a plan, never know how to get it started. Number two is they do have a plan, but then they just never take action. And then the third one is they need help or just don't get the right kind of help. So we're going to break each one of these three down individually so that those will be points that you can learn from and avoid and hopefully get your idea off the ground and get started. But before we get started, for those of you all that know me, you know that my background was in bail enforcement. I got started in bounty hunting and bail enforcement about 20 years ago. Basically, I got out of the military. I was jobless, homeless, just didn't know what to do. And one minute I was in the Army. And then the next day, I literally went from hero to zero. And one way or another, I was able to get into bail enforcement. And I realized that I was good at it, and also at the same time realized, there's probably other people that want to do this and just don't know how to get their foot in the door. And that's how I got started doing that. And then I started training people and went from training people to running the largest security company in the state of Kansas to having one of the largest bail bonds company here in the state of Kansas. Had about 12 to 15 bail bondsmen at any one time working for me. Had about 25 bounty hunters on my payroll and did very good things and went from 0 to 3.2 million in sales in about 9 months. And in that time moved I moved 4 different times in 9 months. And I remember sitting into bed one time at our new house, and my wife and I were sitting on a big pile of money, and we were like, is this legal? Because everything was happening so fast that I just couldn't believe that it was real at the same time. And but while we were doing that, one of the things that we did was when I got started with all that, none of it would have been possible without a plan. I'd like to say that I was able to put together a plan, and then a few months later, I was an instant millionaire, and there was no hiccups or no adversity in between. But that just wasn't the case. But I can tell you this: I did have a plan. I quickly realized I had to put together some action to back that plan up, and then on top of that, it didn't take long for me to realize that I needed help if I was going to be successful at starting my training academy and getting people trained on how to become successful at being bounty hunters and bail enforcement agents. So it was those three things that I was able to make success from or be successful at training people. And it's those three basic principles that I think most people must use to be able to be successful at any idea that they may have. Before we go any further, though, let's see what a very famous guy by the name of Jack Canfield. He does Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul and has made countless other books. That book in itself has sold like 500 million worldwide. He was in on The Secret, and he's done tons of other things. But I'm going to show you this quick little video clip here about Jack Canfield and what he feels about making a plan and some of his steps for success are. I think that you'll find that they go right in line with what I was just talking about. So let's go ahead and see what Jack has to say about it as well.
I kind of usher you into the room and wait for the next person. Now I'm the host instead of somebody who's sitting there trying to do business.
So act like it's your party.
Act like it's your party to get you over. That really has helped me because I've even been invited to speak places, and then there's a cocktail party before. And I remember for years I would be standing around going like, well, what do I do now?
Right.
And now I act like I'm the host, and it's made it so much easier.
Introduce people,
Exactly.
connect them. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Let's go into some of the principles, the fundamentals of success.
Sure.
And I think you talk about being clear is one of the
Yes.
first things, and having a clear vision.
Right.
Because if you can't be successful without a vision and being clear.
Well, you have to first take 100% responsibility for your life, give up being a victim. Then you have to get clear about what is my purpose. I believe each person has a purpose they were born with, whether it's to be a mechanic or a chef or to be a doctor or to do what we do, which is empower and enlighten people. through the work we do. And so once you've got that, you have to have a clear vision of what would you like your life to look like, both in the business world, in your social world, in your relationships, your health and fitness, your travel and fun, all of that. So we have 7 areas of your life which we say, let's pretend that you can have anything you want, no holds barred. You know, God comes down and says, you're chosen, you won the lottery, you get the life you want, what would you do? And you go, oh, I'd like to live in this house in Malibu, I'd like to live on the ocean, I want to have 3 kids, I want to be able to travel to Europe 5 times a year, you know, whatever it is, write it down. And then using things like visualization and affirmations, you can start turbocharging that vision with intention, and then some of the tools that come out of the law of attraction work and so forth. But you first have to know where you're going. I liken it to a GPS system in a car. Here we are in Santa Barbara. Right. You live in LA somewhere.
Windy roads to get back here.
Yeah. But if you have a GPS and it says 929 via Fruiteria or whatever, your GPS system will tell you how to get there. Now, when you left LA, you did not know exactly where you were going. You just trusted a GPS to say turn left, turn right, turn left. Your subconscious mind works the exact same way. It is a programmable GPS system that will figure out the path if you program it correctly, which is putting in a vision of the destination. That's all you have to do.
Interesting. But a lot of people feel a lot of fear because they're of the unknown of what's going to happen or that they might fail if they have a big dream, right? So what is fear to you, and how does someone overcome that fear?
Well, here's the deal. You know, basically fear is, I love this word, the guy who wrote the book, Dune, said fear is the mind killer. Fear takes you back into the amygdala, which is in the limbic system of your brain. You want to be in the prefrontal cortex, which is where the executive functions, where spiritual insights, where wisdom occurs, where rational, logical thinking occurs. So basically, as soon as I get into fear, I go back into this primal fight or flight or freeze place. And so I want to be up here. So, you know, basically, we now have technology called EFT tapping. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Nick Ordner and all those guys. And literally 9 acupuncture points, you tap on those in a sequence for maybe 5 minutes, 7 minutes, and the fear disappears. It literally dissolves. There's absolutely no reason for anyone to be in fear. Now, the value of setting a goal is to watch all these fears come up. I refer to it as a, you ever played the game whack-a-mole at the mall? You got the heads come, you got to whack them before they go back down. So we want to surface those fears so we can whack them using EFT and other technologies that are out there, neuro-linguistic programming and so forth. But now we have this science that just literally you don't have to be stopped. The other thing, a friend of mine just wrote a book called the Fear Cure, or The Cure for Fear, one of those. And she talked about one of the biggest fears is of the unknown and uncertainty of the future. But everything's uncertain. You know, we're trying to create certainty in an uncertain world, and stop being afraid of uncertainty. Uncertainty is what's exciting. Right. If you go to Africa on a vacation, a safari, you have no idea what's going to happen. That's part of the adventure.
It's fun.
That's part of the fun, exactly.
If you knew, oh, there's going to be a zebra that pops out right here, or this is going to be next,
it
might get boring, right?
Or if you go river rafting, you don't know where the rapids are and how you're going to do it. And if you go surfing, you don't know exactly how the wave's going to break and all that and how big it's going to be. And so that adventure is really what life's about. And so we need to be excited. Fear is created by imagining bad things that haven't happened yet. So fantasized experiences appearing real, everyone always says that. Someone else recently said, forget everything and run. But, but I think that if you realize that you're creating your own fear by imagining a bad thing, oh, if there's a recession, I'll lose my house. Why not go, if there was a recession, I'm going to make more money because there's going to be opportunities and we're going to be able to pay our house off faster. Zig Ziglar said, worrying is negative goal setting. And all you have to do is use that same power to think and visualize to create a positive outcome instead of a negative, and then the fear disappears.
Yeah, and a quote of yours.
I tell you what, I just love hearing that guy speak. Jack I love how it just comes across so plain and so effortlessly for him. But everything he says is so simple and makes so much sense. I just get motivated every time I hear the guy. But I did like what he was saying. You know, have a clear plan and make sure that you decide to put that plan in action. In other words, put a date on it. Set a goal, put a date on it, and then work towards it. Don't let fear stop you from achieving your goal. Be decisive, and to be decisive means take action on your plan. Don't get held up in analysis paralysis and wait for the right opportune moment. If you do that, it will never happen. I can tell you, when I got started training people, I started in a 2-bedroom apartment. But it wasn't the most ideal situation, but I took action. And from there, then I gathered, like I said, I gathered help. We moved into an office, and we moved into a bigger office space, and yet even a bigger office space still. And we at the whole time gathered more people together, and all of that happened and snowballed because we took action. And once we took that action, the momentum just started rolling, and the next thing you know, we were off and training people on a daily basis. So have a plan, put a date on it, and then take action to work your plan. I liked Jack so much with what he had to say that we're going to finish up this first video series here with a little bit more from Jack Canfield. So let's go ahead and listen to what he has to say. We'll finish this up, and then we'll continue with the rest of this in the next two videos.
And, you know, one of the other principles you talk about is how to transform yourself for success. So tell me about the people we surround ourselves with, and how do people influence us in a positive way of achieving our goals or keeping us back into victim mode?
I don't know if your parents ever said this to you, but mine did. They always said, I don't want you hanging out with those kids. They're a bad influence.
Sure,
right?
sure, yeah.
Yeah. So that doesn't stop when you're 18, right? You know? So there are certain people who are negative, curmudgeonly, you know, whiners, complainers, and blamers, that if you hang out with them, that's who you become.
Yeah.
And you look at any bar, all bars have a personality to them. You know, there's bars on Lower State Street in Santa Barbara here where the lower economic class hangs out and they just bitch and moan about how bad everything is.
Right.
There's bars further up the street where the people that are more successful hang out and they're just doing deals and talking about all the great things that happened that day.
Having fun.
Having fun. They're networking and brainstorming with each other, introducing each other to opportunities. So basically, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
Like I remember Mark asked this one guy who owns Evergreen Airlines to if he could give him an idea that he thought might work for him. And he said, well, if I take it, how much money do you think I might make? He says, well, a couple million. He says, Mark, I can't even consider an idea that won't make me $100 million.
Oh my gosh.
It's just below my threshold
It's not
to
worth
play.
it. Yeah.
You know, so now most of us, that's a very rarefied atmosphere. Most people listening to this aren't there. But just to give you an example, there's a friend of mine who, now a friend, just died recently, but I didn't know him at the time. His name was Lou Tice, and he ran the Pacific Institute and teaches a lot of stuff we do. And he was making, again, like, you know, a lot of money. And his clients included the Navy, you know, the government of Denmark, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, I want to learn what he's doing. He's playing at a bigger level than I am. So I called him up, and I said to him, Lou, if you're ever in L.A., this was when I was in my 30s, I said, could I be your chauffeur? Just don't hire a limo. Let me chauffeur you for free. All I ask is I can pump you with questions for the 20, 30 minutes an hour.
Sure, sure.
He said, sure. So about 3 months later, I get a call. He says, hi, I'm coming to L.A. Going to do a talk at a country club. Pick me up at LAX, take me to the hotel, take me to the country club, back again. So I did. And I peppered him with, like, what'd you do? How'd you do this? How'd you do that? And he told me. So about a year later, we both bid for a contract. It was $875,000 contract to educate people on welfare in California based on these success principles to get them off welfare. And we were the final 2 competitors, Pacific Institute, and we won.
Oh, wow.
And so he was very gracious. He sent me a nice note. He said, you're a good student.
That's great. He should have held back some of his secrets.
Well, he didn't really need to. I mean, his bigger goal was to get all this out to the world. And if I was doing that, I was part of that as well. But he is, I mean, most people, you'd be surprised how many people say yes if you ask them to spend some time with them.
Yeah, of course. I want to speak into the mastermind part because when I did my first mastermind probably 5-6 years ago, when I had no clue what was going on, I think in our company, I was just starting out in business. We did around, I think, $250,000 in sales for like the first 6 months of our business. And then it was the end of the year, we went to this mastermind of these online marketers, and a lot of them were making 5 to 10 million. And within the next month, the relationships we built from that mastermind, we did $250,000 in sales in that next month, just from 5 relationships in the mastermind.
Right.
And that year we broke $1 million. And it was just like all accelerated after being around people who were at that next level. So I can definitely speak into that.
Yeah. I mean, you're living proof of it.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's extremely powerful. And if you're not in a mastermind, make sure to join one and find one and become a part of it.
Or get a mentor. You know, find somebody who's done what you want to do. And whether it's being in person with them or reading their book or listening to their home study course or their podcast. Excuse me. But whatever it is, people have already done. Tony Robbins says success leaves clues. I love that. You know, and so everyone who's ever been successful has left some kind of clue. There's a manual, a franchise operation manual, a workbook they wrote, you know, a seminar they're leading, a boot camp. Go get educated.
Yeah.
And I have a chapter in the book called "Learn More to Earn More." You know, Brian Tracy always talks about the idea that if you want to make more money, become more valuable. Have more impact that you can give somebody that will affect their life in a positive way.
Yeah.
Whether it's your employer or people like us to our clients, the more I know, the more I can support people. I mean, I have people now who are making, they own companies worth $600 million, and they'll come to a retreat with me just so they can do tapping with me to overcome some fear they have.
Some stress or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, one guy, he was from Czechoslovakia, Pavel, and he had this huge company, and he was totally miserable. And he basically, as a result of all this work we did, he sold 2 of his companies. He hired some people to run his other companies. He always wanted to be a cyclist, hired Lance Armstrong, cycling coach, and now he's won 2 cycling races in the Pyrenees in Europe. So, and he's in his 60s. So why not have a balanced life?
Sure, sure. Now, who are your mentors growing up or in your early career?
Well, my first mentor was a man named W. Clement Stone. He was a friend of Napoleon Hill, and they wrote a book together, actually, called The Success System That Never Fails. And Napoleon Hill, we all know from Think and Grow Rich. And so he mentored me for about 2 years when I worked at his foundation. I was teaching teachers how to teach this stuff to kids to raise their self-esteem and teach them how to be successful. His big phrase was, success is not a 4-letter word. You know, it's like most people think success is bad. You know,
Money's bad and success is bad.
Especially back in the 60s and 70s when everyone was a hippie and the counterculture
Sure.
and all that going on. So another mentor of mine was Jesse Jackson, who
yeah.
was a contemporary of Martin Luther King. I used to go to his church when I lived in Chicago.
Wow.
I was teaching in an all-black inner-city school because I was part of the civil rights movement, wanted to make a difference. And I remember one day I watched him, you know, he always had people like Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby would come in, you know,
sure.
and all these stars. And I remember standing on the edge of the church because I got there late, so I didn't have a seat. And I'm looking over, and the band is playing. And all of a sudden, Jesse looks over and he goes, like that, just a little nod. The band stops, you know.
Wow.
And this room must have had 1,000 people in his church. And I went, oh, that's cool. I want to learn how to do that, you know. And so now I run groups of like, you know, 500 to 800 people at a time and thousands. The largest group I ever talked to was 20,000 people, you know.
Wow.
And so like learning how to manage the energy of a large group of people like that is a skill. And I wanted to learn to do that. So I used to go to church every Sunday and just watch a master do that work. And then I've had masters along the way that I've worked with in terms of, I used to be a psychotherapist, people that have taught me, you know, marketing, people that have been gurus for me in terms
Sure.
of my own relationships, John Gray, for instance. And I think you should always have somebody who knows more than you do about something teaching you that so you can
Sure.
keep expanding your capacity in life.
Well,
Okay, so there you go. Again, Jack just says everything so clear and concise, and it's like, wow, why didn't I think of that, or why didn't I realize that? And even though I sit here and I'm actually making this video, and I've seen this part of this clip more than one time, it's like I pick up something new every time that he says it. I really like the point that he was talking about where he was saying, to get help, you need to surround yourself with positive people. So not only, in conclusion, I'm gonna wrap this video up, and then we'll continue on with this little mini series. You know, I always like to do things in a 3-part series on the next video. But so in conclusion of this one, you need to have a plan and put a date on it. And then you need to be decisive. And that means just make a decision to accomplish your goal and stick to that decision. And the best way to stick to that decision is through action. With that action, though, you're going to need help, whether it's somebody to hold you accountable, to do the daily tasks of accomplishing the goal, or just help in general. And we'll talk more about those 2 things in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this video right now. And if you did, leave me a comment, click the button below and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on it. Yay or nay, good, bad, or indifferent. I read them all. It gives me good feedback on how to make better quality content for you. So go ahead, leave me a comment on this one, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.